Welcome to the Youth Sport Podcast. My name is Rihanna Poskin, and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly within youth sport. It feels great when a kid comes up to you and says, "Coach, because of you, my life changed in the best way." It would feel awful to hear that because of you, the coach, a kid doesn't want to have anything to do with it ever again. I believe that kids deserve to have fun, to learn, to grow, to compete, and to play in a great environment. Join me as I interview guests that spill the tea on youth sport in order to help you make an enormous impact with kids right now. This episode of the Youth Sport Podcast is brought to you by Lululemon. I am part of the Lululemon Collective and will receive commissions when you shop through my link. Buying something for you or your loved ones, like my favorite warm down joggers, helps me to continue to bring interesting and empowering conversations for everyone. I have to tell you, when I'm coaching, I want to make sure that I'm dressed appropriately, I'm comfortable, my clothes stand up to all kinds of random situations, and that I have pockets. You never know who's going to ask you to hold something for them or what random things you need to carry with you. The Lululemon warm down joggers take care of all of my needs. I invite you to find your go-to item by browsing through the entire Lululemon site. You won't be disappointed. Please use the link provided in the video description below to start shopping. Welcome back to part 2 of episode 10 with Paul Ranger. So this is a nice segue then into, we usually on this podcast start with the story when you're young and then get into these hot topics. And we've kind of flipped it because that's where we went, and it's amazing. So now let's go back to your childhood, and I want to know if you were able to be present as a kid. And the main thing about sport is that we want them to be able to have fun. And so you're taking this attitude and perspective in your adult life. Now, what was the attitude and perspective as a kid? Were you able to enjoy hockey just to be able to have fun and be with your friends?
I think till I was about 14, 15, yeah.
Yeah.
I think once I started playing junior, it was a little bit more business-like.
Okay.
And it was a little bit, for me, it was just, I was a little bit of a timid, like I was a little bit timid, but I acted out because it was like my shield or my guard against people knowing that I was timid and kind of nervous and closed off. I don't know. I feel like, it's funny. I feel like I lived almost 2 lives when I was a teenager in my mid to late teens, because I had the hockey team that I was so time spent heavily and mindfully heavily involved with.
Yeah.
But I still went to the same high school that I grew up with because I played for a local junior team. So
yeah, I
had my high school friends too. And it's funny, but think about this, put it this way. My high school friends that I guess developed friendships and relationships with naturally through interests, through humor, through helping each other out, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I always knew that those friends that I still am really good buddies with today and talk to on a regular basis there's a great foundation there of loyalty and of just pure friendship.
Can you give me an example of one of your most fun times as a kid playing hockey?
Oh yeah, for sure. I would say two. I would say 2 of them. I don't remember these ones as much, like the actual in-depth feelings of them and stuff. But I know I had a blast playing with my minor hockey team, traveling tournaments and stuff like that, playing mini hockey in the hotels. I loved doing that stuff. I know I did.
Yeah.
My favorite, I would say my ultimate favorite time was my dad spent so much time every year in the winter building this little boarded up hockey rink in the backyard.
Yeah.
And me and my buddies would play almost anytime there was ice on, if the ice lasted.
Yeah.
It wasn't half melted or whatever, or snow on it or slushy or whatever. If it was halfway decent ice, we were skating and playing 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 or whatever. Yeah. And we were just having fun. Like, it was pure fun. There was no judgment, no organized practice, no nothing. It was a time where it was a time where we could just let go and just allow ourselves to have fun and play, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. How
Even
do you
when even
think,
when we were like 12, 13, 14, we would still do that and just have pure fun.
yeah. Do you think that can be incorporated into some serious teams?
That's a good question. I think it should be. I
Yeah.
think it should be. I really
Yeah.
do. I think, especially in serious teams like junior teams or college teams or professional teams, it's like coaches just think it's like every minute we have to spend working on something. Well, you know what? When people are having fun, they're working without knowing it. So
Yeah.
set up something that the players don't even feel like they're working at something. But I do this all the time with Ranger defensemen. I set up games. I make a drill. You can either take the approach of doing a drill, working on our defensive stuff, 2-on-1s out of the corner or whatever.
Yeah.
But as soon as I implement a game or a competition out of it,
Yeah.
it's like they totally and I teach a little bit as we're doing it for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
but it's almost like they completely forget that they're working and that they're spending energy and that they're tired and they're just having fun. It's like fun trumps everything,
Yeah. Do you
you
get
know?
involved in that? Are you part of that play?
Occasionally, but as a coach, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, occasionally I'll step in and play offense. Like I won't play defense anymore because I'm not wearing equipment. But
But that's what I mean.
um,
Like if a kid were to be going up against you, they would dig in deep. They want to beat you, right? And
oh, for sure, for
I
sure.
see that. I see that with the kids. So just last weekend, the coaches were playing just tag. It was just tag with 5-year-old kids. And the light and excitement that was in those eyes
Mhm.
was just like, I'm going to get you, because they just loved it. And now, so those are 5-year-olds. Obviously, you have to do fun things with 5-year-olds to make sure that they stay engaged for the entire time. But I still see it with these parent kid games where you've got these kids that are so excited to shelf their dad who's in goal or something like that. And so yeah, I would love to be able to see how we can still be serious, still work on some things that you need to work on in practices and have a lot of
Mhm.
success, and but still have that fun.
Yep. And it's interesting the way you put it with, yeah, when even at a professional rank, when there was a coach. I remember when I played my first professional year, we had an older player, a veteran player. He was a really funny guy. Is another defenseman, and when I was in Springfield, Massachusetts, playing for the farm team during
Okay.
one of the NHL lockout years. It was my first year, and he retired halfway through the year from a back injury, I think, and became an assistant coach.
Okay.
And he would still kind of have this little bit of swagger to him that he could still compete with us.
Yep.
And we were like, no, 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 you're a coach now. You're retired. You can't play with us.
Uh-huh.
So he would play 3-on-3 with us, and you're right. It was like when we had a little bit of fun after practices, or if the guys who weren't playing that night or whatever, we'd play 3-on-3 at the end of a skate or whatever. And he would usually run that skate and then be part of that 3-on-3 game as well.
Mhm.
And what would happen is this guy, his name was Darren, and Darren would really, really, really try to beat us.
Uh-huh.
Okay, whatever team he was on, he tried to show off and really dig in and beat us. Well, I do remember exactly what you're talking about. That sort of spark, and my eyes lit up. I'm like, I'm beating this guy. He's my coach. I gotta beat him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, even at the professional ranks, sometimes. I mean, once you get into talking NHL level stuff, I think that most of the coaches are much older,
Mhm.
and they can't really compete with the guys. But I remember that was like one time where he was just retired, and he's still. Even I still feel that way. Even though I'm like a little bit overweight now, and I'm certainly not in the same shape I was when I was playing with Toronto. Like no chance.
Yeah.
But there's still times when I want to I want to show the players up for sure
Yeah.
that I'm coaching for
Yeah.
sure,
It's
and
still
it
in
kind of goes
you.
both ways a little bit. Yeah, it goes both ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to change this topic just a little bit. When you, let me know if this is right or not. When you were younger, you wanted to be a forward at some point, and then
Hmm.
you changed from AAA and you left for a year in order to be able to be a
Hmm.
forward. How did that go down?
I'll tell you what happened. So I think I think it was minor peewee. So it would have been like U11 or U13, something like that.
Okay.
I was playing on the AAA team, and we had a new coach, and I think I just told my parents, I'm like, I really want to try playing forward,
Hmm.
just to try it. Like I played defense pretty much my whole life once I started playing rep.
Did you choose to play
And
defense or did someone put you there?
I don't even remember, to be honest. I
Okay.
think I was the only kid that could skate backwards, so they put me on defense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what my dad told me. Yeah, but yeah, when I think back to it, so this is what I know about that situation is that I just wanted to try forward and play for fun and whatever.
Mhm.
And what happened was, I think my parents, my mom specifically, asked the coach if that could happen, and I think something happened between that coach and my mom in that he kind of either verbally, I don't know, not abused her, but verbally challenged her and
Mhm.
in a probably in a bad way.
Mhm.
And my mom is not one to take that.
Okay.
So she is not one to take that from anybody. So she challenged him back, and then he challenged her again, and essentially she said, "That's enough. I'm not having my kid play for this guy. There's no way.
Mhm.
He's not a good person." And so that was more important to her and my dad than the fact of the position.
Okay.
I think she had ended up writing a letter explaining the situation to all the other parents because the parents were really close back then,
Yeah.
especially on that team. And we were the whole way up from minor novice all the way to major bantam.
Yeah.
But, and so I think they understood. I don't think the kids understood because I got a little bit of shame from it. But
Okay.
I ended up playing single A the rest of that year because the
Okay.
double A team was full.
Yeah.
And I ended up playing forward for the
Okay.
year just to try it for fun, right? And then I came back and I played defense because I found out that I liked it, but I wasn't great at it, and I didn't feel as accomplished playing
Okay.
forward as I did when I was playing defense. I felt more in control.
Okay.
So I went back to defense and made the AAA team with, of course, a new head coach again because that guy got fired or let go or whatever.
Okay.
So I ended up going back to AAA after that, and then never kind of had that situation happen again. But I played defense the rest of the way after that. But I think in a nutshell, like I don't know what that threshold is for the age that kids shouldn't be or should be kind of given a position and played.
Yeah.
When you think you're like 6, 7, 8 years old, if a kid wants to try forward, like why not give him that opportunity?
Yeah.
He's 6
Yeah.
or she's 6.
Oh, yeah.
What's the difference? Who cares? It's
Right.
not like they're trying out for a pro team here. Like, I don't know. I just don't know what that age is where you just say, hey, like if you want to play on this competitive team, you're gonna play defense. If you want to go play house league or whatever, then you can play whatever position you want. But I don't know. I think coaches should be more open to that.
Well,
Just not necessarily for the development of the player, but for the mental health of the or mental well-being of the player, I guess. Like if they want to try something, they're kids, let them try it,
yeah.
you know?
I think you said that it's
Like
developed.
winning like sorry to interrupt. Winning the regional double A championship is not that important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like really, it's really not.
It's pretty exciting
So
for the hour afterwards, but then after that hour is done, then you go back to your regular life and everything goes
yeah,
normal. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of conversation about that in terms of multi-sport athletes, and so not even just playing multiple sports, but then also playing multiple positions. And so I think that's something we don't have to have that conversation right now because we can talk about some other things. But I think just having that in the back of your mind, where the what is the outcome for these kids? What are we trying to accomplish with these kids? And if a kid is really not enjoying it because of the position that they're playing, then I think that needs to be a conversation that they need to have.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kids, if they're not having fun and they're not, I mean, look, what are we trying to do with these kids? We're trying to be active. We're
Yeah.
trying to create friendships, and relationships, ideals of what a team atmosphere is like, the feelings of accomplishment in doing that with another person or many other teammates,
Yeah.
respecting authority through coaches, but also relating to coaches.
Mhm.
And then if something and really to have fun, if something comes out of it like getting a scholarship or playing professional or playing junior or whatever that particular sport offers in a next level way. That's kind of it's kind of bonus in my eyes, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the goal of a parent whose kid is 7 years old to go play in the NHL. It shouldn't be their goal.
Hmm.
Their goal should be those former things that I listed. And if that other thing happens,
Yeah.
that's that's gold. That's just bonus. You just found a golden nugget in a rock pile. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like with the percentage of people that are going to make the NHL or the MLS or whatever, it's a very outside chance. And but all those people out of the 1,000 kids that are going to try and make this or who are playing soccer, for instance, and one of them gets to make the MLS, no matter whether you're the one that makes the MLS or the other 999 who don't,
Hmm.
all 1,000 of those kids are people and have human traits of mental health, relationships with people. They're developing their own identity.
Hmm.
All 1,000 of those kids are. That should be the focus. And if something comes out of it where you go beyond that in the sporting world,
Yeah.
that's bonus.
Yeah.
That's my view. That's how I'm going to raise my kids.
Awesome. And I would like you to just expand on that a tiny little bit more, because what I feel like what happens is that there's so much pressure on kids that some burn out and quit, and then they never want to do it again. And so our point of long-term athletic development is to keep people athletic or even just moving for life. And now, if you have a bad experience by age 12 or 13 and you quit something and you're like, forget that, that didn't work out for me, I'm never going to do that again, then we lose the physical component of keeping that kid moving. But then that also plays a mental game where they just didn't like it when they were a kid. So, why would you do it again?
I think that what keeps kids involved in sports or athletic scenarios is a drive for self-worth, a
Hmm.
drive for competition, or a drive for fun.
Okay.
And if you don't have one or more of those things, why would you keep doing it?
Exactly.
As a kid, especially, who
Yeah.
just really wants to have fun most of the time, or if they're a competitive kid, they want to compete, or
Yeah.
if they want to just feel good, then they do it, you know?
What's the end goal? What's the end goal with these kids?
Yeah.
Is to try and make sure that we keep them engaged and having fun and present. So that presence
Mhm.
piece where they can really enjoy that childhood. And then maybe at some point they say, yeah, that was great. And I'm still going to respect my body. I'm going to nourish my body with great things. I'm going to keep up all of these things that I learned through athletics and apply them as an adult. And just like what you said, if you find really amazing success beyond those years, then bonus.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it. And I also think that, like, if you have a good overall experience playing sports or being an athlete or even just being active,
Mhm.
if you're not an athlete and even just being active, if you have a good experience doing that, the chances are, and how you have that good experience is by focusing on those former things that we listed,
Yeah.
not trying to make the NHL and potentially failing.
Yeah.
And you essentially try to do those things, have a good experience, and then you continue to want to be active because it feels good. It,
Yeah.
it, it brings good memories, good feelings.
Yeah.
That's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, we've chatted a while and I'm so happy with everything that we have gone through. There are some things, maybe just like a speed round. Do you want to just do a speed round of questions where we can do?
Yeah.
Okay, Dallas Eakins, the head coach of the Toronto Marlies, had an enormous impact on you. What is your main goal for impact with the athletes that you work with?
Okay. This is a good question. This will be a quick one.
Okay.
My my goal as a business person
Yeah.
and coach is to make them the best player on ice they can be.
Okay.
But my approach to that is different than most because I'm a private coach. I'm not a authoritarian team coach.
Okay.
So I want my players to always feel like I'm on their side,
Okay.
and because I am, and I treat them differently than I would if I were I don't know, the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay.
So I think that approach for me is comes from a place of, yeah, it comes from Dallas.
Yeah.
He's the first coach I've ever had that showed that he actually gave a crap. He cared,
Awesome.
not just about hockey and your performance, but he felt that the health and well-being and happiness of the person contributed to the performance of the player.
Nice.
And he didn't just do it for that, but I truly felt like he genuinely cared about the person, even beyond the coaching aspect of it.
Nice.
I don't know where that comes from for him, but I know that he had some struggles in life. Like, again, I have no idea where it came from, but he was always a big proponent of being a good person
Yeah.
overall. Just in whatever that means for you, just make a positive contribution to yourself, to others, and to society.
Nice.
And I don't know. I feel like that's a very strong and undervalued and underfocused aspect of being a coach. So I implement that with my players, that perspective with my players,
Yep.
and so far so good.
Awesome. Awesome.
It's been
Okay.
great. Yeah.
Next question. From a fan's perspective, fans can be amazing, but then they can
Mhm.
also be mean. As a professional athlete, what would you say to fans so that they have an understanding of what you go through?
Oh man, I think with fans, I mean, the good ones are not the problem. Not the good ones. The good reactions are not the problem. It's the actions of any fan, I guess, that are over the top negative. So passion usually takes over the fact that athletes are human beings too.
Yeah.
And I remember being booed. I remember even in my home rink, I remember being criticized like crazy in the media. And I just honestly, at that point, I really didn't pay attention much to it because I just didn't care. It didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But still hearing that kind of hurt a little bit. It was like a little thorn in your side. You're just like, dang, that sucked.
Yeah.
But I think it's very easy to judge people. It's very easy to judge athletes. It's even easier to judge athletes who make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And again, I think you need to, as a fan, just try to. I know the passion's there behind the team and behind the player, and you want to win just as much as the people in the room, in the dressing room, even though you're in the crowd or on watching on TV or whatever, or reading the paper.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing when you start to being aware that you're starting to judge like crazy and criticize,
Yeah.
those people are still human beings and they're not perfect and they make mistakes and they're doing the best they can with what they have, and maybe they are going through something that's distracting them or
Yeah.
hounding them basically from the inside out. Maybe
Yeah.
they have a family thing going on, maybe their mother's sick, maybe whatever. They're still human beings and we try as best we can as athletes to separate ourselves when it's game time or when it's prep time,
Yeah.
but that can still have an effect, just like it can have an effect on your job.
Right.
So
And if a kid is going
be
through the same thing, if you've got a little kid on the ice, because we know it happens in youth sport where the crowd gets
mm,
crazy and people are yelling and screaming. And what would you say to a kid who is dealing with that? Because sometimes there can be a ton of fans. I think Katie said it in my conversation with her, where she was like, it's really hard to ref a game with the little kids because everybody's showing up. You've got grandparents and you've got the friends and you got everybody. But then you get to maybe like a 16, 17-year-old game, maybe there's not as many fans there. So like those little tiny kids are absorbing all of this energy, and some of it's good and some of it's bad from those fans. What would you say to that kid that has crazy people in the stands yelling at them?
I don't ignore it. I don't know. I think it's on the parents. Just relax. Honestly, just relax. Like they're kids. Just let them play. Let the game play itself out. Don't criticize. Don't tell your kid to skate faster, run faster, whatever. Don't do this, do this, do this. They're not listening to you from the stands.
Yeah.
And if they are, they're embarrassed.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
want to be taught. They want to be taught by their peers and their coaches, not by someone yelling from the other side of the glass or the sidelines or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just want to be there. They just want to be there and just in the moment.
Okay. My last question is a similar
Last
to this.
question.
You said that you've got some parents of little kids that are asking you what kind of strength and conditioning program they should be on. What's your opinion on that?
Go play a bunch of sports and have fun with your friends. Once you reach like teenage level, then you can start to maybe introduce some, I don't know, dynamic training or dryland training type of scenario. Maybe start light lifting at some point, once you hit puberty, I guess. I don't think you really need to weight train until you're, in the puberty stage or past it. I don't understand that. I see kids sometimes on Instagram and stuff doing hang cleans at like 8 years old. I'm thinking, why are you doing that? That is just a recipe for disaster to me. Go have fun and play sports. Go have fun and goof around on swing sets or whatever. You're going to develop just as much playing multi sports, the different aspects of defending, trying to create offense, whatever, footwork, all kinds of stuff. You're going to do that while playing other sports, hand-eye coordination, foot-eye coordination.
Yeah.
You're going to get all of that by playing a bunch of different sports as a kid.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, once you pick up as you go get older and you want to get better at something specifically, then you can start doing that stuff. That's my view. I don't think you need to go hit up a gym and pay $10,000 every 2 or 3 years to get your 8-year-old to lift better.
Right.
I really don't.
What we're moving towards in the strength and conditioning world is to acknowledge that at those young ages that we play. So we crawl and we roll and we catch balls and we kick balls and we do all kinds of things. And so even if people do want their kid going to a gym, there are programs that are out there that are looking at that long-term athletic development in a great way. So there are options for exactly what you're saying. Maybe they're not able to play pickup with their friends, or maybe they're not able to play multiple sports, but there are people that are acknowledging this and looking out for the best interest of the kids and designing programs for exactly what you're saying. So I would.
Yeah, listen, I don't disagree with sending your kid to a training program. I don't disagree with that. I just view it as my own. When my kids reach the age of 6 or 7 or 10 or whatever, I want them to be able to, like, again, it comes back to having fun and working without knowing you're working.
Yeah.
If I have my kid playing for 45 minutes in a 2-on-2 game as fast as possible in the backyard rink or on a pond or on the street, playing street hockey, that is just as much training as you're probably getting for 45 minutes in the gym. At 8 years old.
For sure. And it's fun.
That's all I'm saying. So I don't, and being in the gym, if it's fun for the kid and they like it, then that's great.
Yeah.
Then that's a good fit for them. But if they're just like going there and they have to like work at 7 years old or 8 years old or 10 years old, and they feel like they're just working and like don't really want to be there.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a good vibe for them. They may not want to do that in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
It's a trial and error process, I think, for parents and kids. Just because professional athletes do it, don't feel like you're falling behind by letting your kid go have fun versus being in a gym training.
Yeah, I think we can leave this conversation on that note, because that is something that comes up a lot is I don't want to be left behind. There's this fear that keeps going into it where it's like, I just have to do everything. I have to sign my kid up for extra power skating. I have to sign my kid up for going to the strength and conditioning facility. I have to make sure that he's playing summer hockey. I want to have to, all of these different things because of the fear of falling behind.
Yeah. And again, I think there's great value in letting your kid have fun playing sports, whatever that sport is, whether it's a different sport than the sport that you really care about, or whether it's the sport that you're in almost 6 days a week these days with your team. But I think don't forget that having fun is the mask to working and working on yourself and your game. Have fun while you're doing it, because it distracts you from actually feeling like, think about when you were playing college soccer or something. If you're having fun, you didn't know that you were really tired.
No,
you weren't focusing on the pain of lifting weights, the tiredness of it, the achiness. You weren't focusing on that.
Yeah.
So when you're having fun, I think, especially for kids, I think it's a great distraction for actually accomplishing what you want. And then again, with falling behind, I come back to that 1,000 kid, yeah, I guess 1,000 people or 1,000 kids that might try to that play sport and might try to make MLS. One kid makes it. All but whether you're the kid that makes it or the other 999 kids,
Mhm.
they all have a life to live,
Yeah.
and that's what matters the most, not the fact that you made a sports team.
Yeah.
That's not what truly matters.
Nice.
That's bonus.
That's bonus.
So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I'm going to pull out all of these tweetable moments from this conversation and put them all together because you hit some big pieces there that sheds a lot of wisdom. And I appreciate your time. That was amazing.
All right, Rita, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Okay, so if anybody wants to find out when these conversations come out, you can always go to my website, which is rihannaposkin.com. If you want to follow along what Paul is doing, Paul, just give a little plug for your business. Ranger Defenseman is the name.
Yeah, so you can easily just go to rangerdefenseman.ca or just Google it.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again, Paul. Everybody, I hope we have some really good post-conversation from this discussion, and that we can really make an impact on the young people that we're working with. And for any young person that's listening, please have a conversation with your friends. Talk about this stuff. There's some pretty cool things that may not be on your radar, and maybe we've shed some light on something that you guys could talk about. So have a great day, everybody. I really appreciate you checking this conversation out, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.